There's always the assumption we'll work everything out. I think that's the thing. I think we both go, everything will work out because we're both going to allow each other to do what is right, and we'll assume that we're both making decisions that are right for ourselves and right for all of us.
Hello and welcome to Separate Bathrooms. We would like to acknowledge the Gadigal People of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of this land, and pay our respects to the elders both past and present. I'm Daddo.
I'm Daddo. Daddo. What's that? We are very fortunate to have a couple join us today that we've been chasing for a good long while. Now, I know this is not a competition, but they have been together longer than us. But they married a little bit later, so the ledger is squared there.
Oh, I see. I see what you're doing.
Yeah. We're back on par.
They're considered among the very best of what they do, and both are at the top of their games right now. She's a celebrated actress and author, and he is a world-renowned cinematographer.
They've weathered a lot, personally and professionally, so there's a lot to talk about. Let's learn about love, resilience, and a whole lot more.
Please welcome Aussie acting royalty, Heather Mitchell, and her wonderful hubby, Martin McGrath.
My old mate, Heather, husband Martin, who I heard a lot about while we were in the Maldives together.
Me. Sorry, darling.
I don't know.
Mind you, he talked about you too, Ali.
Yes.
Oh, good.
You still have your tan. You look so well, both of you.
A tan?
For a redhead, that's...
Oh, must be a bit makeup. Oh, no, but I remember when we were away, I'd put on that fake tan and I got a rash from it. I remember when we went swimming and I said, oh, yes, excuse me, everyone, I've got a rash from my fake tan.
And then you showed us.
And I know.
Oh, my God.
You said you shouldn't apologise about those things.
Did that make it to the get cut out on the editing floor?
They didn't
This
zoom
is
in
luxury
on it.
escapes. We can't have rashes.
That's true. There's no rash.
Or cut fingers or anything like that.
Rashes
No,
don't
it's all good in luxury escapes.
That's true.
land.
Nothing ever happens in luxury escapes, but massages.
Yeah. we are a relationship podcast, so you have to let us know how you met.
Oh,
How did it happen?
Oh, wow. That's a chapter, isn't it?
do you want to start that or?
Do you want to... Yeah, I can do the short version.
Oh, no, I'll do the longer, more interesting version.
We were... Oh, so, well... Yeah, no,
Well, I'll do the beginning and then you
do the
do.
beginning.
I'll do the beginning because it began with a bit of a backstory. So it was my birthday and I think it was my 29th or 30th birthday. And some girlfriends gave me a visit to a clairvoyant. And she was an elderly woman. When I say elderly, she was probably my age.
Right,
and,
so 30th birthday, not that long ago.
Not that long ago. But she was a woman, she was in at least her mid to late 70s, if not older. And she lived in a retirement village in Paddington. And so I rang her first and she said, now, darling, when you come, I'm not allowed to practice clairvoyance, so can you please pretend I'm your grandmother? And maybe bring some flowers and a cake, and that way, and say hello, Granny. So I think it was a religious village. So I arrived and I said, hi, Gran, and we went inside and she said, now bring a tape recorder, one of those little...
Yes.
A dictaphone.
A little dictaphone thing.
Yep.
And I put that on and she said, okay, and she did cards and she did a whole lot of things and nothing she said really made much sense. She said I had 4 brothers, and which I don't have, and she said a whole lot of stuff that didn't make any sense to me, and I thought, well, she's sweet, she's really lovely. And then she said, okay, let's get down to it now. And let's begin. She said, is that thing on? And I said, yes. And she said, okay. And I remember her just going, sort of slamming her fists on the table and saying, let's start. And then she got into it. And in a very short period of time, she said a number of things. And the ones which really stood out to me was that she said, I was going to go on a trip and it wasn't going to be easy, but I must go. She said, I was going to get some work very soon and I must do it. She said I was going to meet a man and he was going to have broad shoulders and tapering in at the waist. These were her exact words. She said I was going to be surrounded by silver. And I said, gold? And she said, no, silver. I said, okay. And then she said I would meet my guardian angel in life. And she said, and I remember saying, I don't know whether it will be a person or an animal. I can't tell you what it will be, but it will make itself known to you. And they were her words. And she said a number of other things. Anyway, we said goodbye and I went home, and my answering machine, back in those days, all the messages were, flashing. And my agent, Bill Shanahan, had left a message saying, Heather, a job's come up. It's in Broken Hill. You need to get there tomorrow. However, there's a plane strike. So you'll need to go on Hercules, on a Hercules plane, and they'll get you there. So
military aircraft.
A military aircraft, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so I got up the next morning and got out to the airport and spent all day on 2 different Hercules planes. And I get to Broken Hill at midnight. And the director, the DOP, which was Martin, and they were, you can take over now.
And the first assistant director,
Yes.
Bob, we were at the pub and we got the call because we didn't know when Heather would arrive, and she was either a replacement or a last-minute casting. And so we were on board to, someone's going to have to remain sober to drive the car to pick her up from the airport, and I was the designated driver. And but the director insisted on meeting Heather, so I've got the director, semi-comatose, and first AD in the car, and I drive out to pick up Heather. And Heather steps off this Hercules, landing lights flashing.
Oh, wow.
Red hair backlit.
I'd been living in Darlinghurst where I only wore black. So, right.
And props still going. It was straight out of Casablanca, and I'm there to meet her. Right? And so we're in the front chatting, and it just sort of worked, So we avoided each other a little bit on the first day of shooting, and then I think was it the second day?
The second day, we were all having dinner at the Pink Pussycat cafe. And Martin I'd gone to use the bathroom, and I came back and I noticed he was gone. And that was when I first noticed him. I thought, oh, he's not here. I noticed his absence more than his presence.
Okay.
And that has remained fairly constant in our relationship, his absence.
And that's how impressive I am.
But anyway, look, we ended up going to having drinks at the Social Democrat Hotel. We were the last to leave there. It was torrential rain. We walked up Oxide Street, back towards the Hilltop Hotel, one of those old hotels, well, not that old, but from the 70s, which was like a horseshoe with all the doors facing the cars,
right.
like...
the old school.
The cars backed up into it so you can get your luggage out. And we stopped under an awning and kissed, and it was very nice.
Okay.
And so we walked back to the hotel.
Do you remember this?
It's all coming back down.
You still remember the room number?
17.
17.
I still have the key.
I don't.
I do.
We must go back. Well, so anyway, we went back and he said, would you like to come in? Well, it was sort of after midnight, it was late, and I thought, well, why not? So I went in, and I think he said he had a bottle of Cointreau, which I hate, but I thought, well, I'll have that. And anyway, so we made love. And afterwards, and it was very good. And afterwards, I was lying with my back to the wall, and it was just one of those rooms with, speckled concrete ceilings and that big aluminium framed window, and outside the curtains were open because it was just black and rain pelting down with a neon light from Hilltop Hotel sort of shining through. And this is the truth, that I had my eyes open. I was trying to see Martin's face to sort of read what he was thinking or whether he was awake or not. And
Australian foreplay. Oh, are you awake?
He's not snoring, I thought, so things are good. And I noticed I traced sort of the shape of his head because he was backlit, and his shoulders, and indeed, he was tapering down at the waist. I thought, that's good. And then in that moment, he said to me...
And the silver?
Oh, yes. And that was after you said. He said to me... You said...
I said to her, I feel like I'm your guardian angel.
Oh, my God. Or I want to be your guardian. Or I'm your guardian. He said something
He said guardian angel, though.
Yeah,
That's
he said guardian angel. And in that moment, my vision went from looking at him to what was surrounding him. And all around him was just sheets of silver, of like silver streamers of this incredible downpour with the light coming through it. And then he leant over and pulled out of his jeans pocket a little silver ingot that he had bought me, and Broken Hill is the city of silver. What? So that's the story of how we met. So I freaked out, didn't speak to him again.
Too much.
Because I...
Really?
Well,
you walked away after that?
He had to get up and go to work.
Right.
And I was had the day off.
Oh, okay.
I was supposed to have the day off, and I was going to creep back to my room when everyone left. But then he came back and said, they're looking for you, they're all knocking on the door because it's because of the rain you're on.
Yeah, right.
And I went, what? He said, you better... So I had to do the walk of shame. Yeah. And the producer, the hotel manager, everyone was knocking on my door. And I I said, hi. And they turned around, I had mascara on here, and I was wearing the clothes from last night. They said, where have you been? We've been looking for you. And I said, I just went for a walk.
Yes.
I've been walking in the rain.
Yes, in the silvery rain.
But that's how we met. And then
that's why we had to get
sort of
married.
ignored each other because someone told me he was married and someone else told me something. You don't have relationships with people on cruise. And so we kind of, and I think I was shocked what he said, really. But then when we got back to Sydney, we met up, and then I was going to Queensland and you were going somewhere else, and we just sort of kept in touch. And then
Right.
months
We never
later,
fell out of love, I don't think. I think it was
got
love.
back together.
I just have to say
That was a long story.
that may be the best how did you first meet story that we've had on this podcast. Oh my God, that is
Number one.
so good.
I did play him the tape years later, or at least a year and a half later.
Yeah, you still had it?
Yeah.
The tape,
So I
the
played
CD
it to
tape.
him because I thought he would never believe that. And
Oh my
there
God.
it was.
It was chilling to hear the tape.
That is
And of
After a
course,
year, it's gone
everyone
by.
wanted to meet this
so
woman,
much.
but unfortunately she passed away.
Yeah.
And
Clearly, she had
I
to be
mean, if you wrote that in a movie script, people would be like,
Well, I can already see the movie. Your description right then was very
love
cinematic.
it. I know it wasn't it? Yeah, storyteller here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that is so
that's how
great.
we met.
That's how we met.
Oh,
That's how you met.
beautiful.
And then proposal. Was there... Did I read something that there was a bit of a misfire there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. I don't mean to preempt the story or
I
anything.
remember getting the ring and buying the ring and thinking, oh my God, there's like an out-of-body experience. I'm going to propose to someone and thinking, is this right? But it seemed absolutely perfect, the thing to do. And I was in Sydney.
Now, you told your mother, obviously.
and I
your
told my
sister,
mother and I told my sister,
who were in Melbourne.
who were in Melbourne, that I was going to do this. And of course, in my mind, there's no way this wouldn't work. This was
Yeah.
going to be, of course. It's on. And
She has your silver.
I know.
Ingot.
And this is how many years down the track? It's 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
And who was in Melbourne? Who was in Sydney?
I was in Sydney and I was about to open a show.
And I was in Melbourne, and I flew back for the day to.
Were you
my-
living
it was
with
my
each other
birthday.
already? Or
Yes.
Yeah.
But yes, it was your birthday. It
was my
So that
birthday.
was my present, was to get down on one knee, which I did, and present the ring. And they said, nah, I don't know that we should get married. I don't think that's a great idea. And I think at that moment, in that instance, I thought, of course, Heather's not really someone who's into the whole notion of getting married. It's not that she doesn't want me. So I rationalised it away, and I thought, okay, fine, I'll just keep it quiet. Just,
He
I'll get the
never
ring.
mentioned it again.
But-
And that
but-
made me go, why isn't he asking me again?
But you were
then-
actually on your knee with the ring out?
Yes.
Oh, I know.
But it
What
was
did
my
that feel like
birthday,
when you
so I
get-
said, can I keep the ring, though, because it's my birthday?
Oh, all right.
What does it feel like? Take us through that moment when you're on your knee.
Rejection.
You're on your knee and you got the ring in the air, and you get denied, rejected. What was that?
In my industry,
In our industry, we're used to that.
every other hour.
Yeah. But still, when you're with your loved one,
I've got a great idea.
Yeah.
Nah, I don't like that. It's not a very good idea.
I do love that.
What did it feel like? You've never
I
explained.
didn't
you
feel
never
like
told me.
I didn't feel like the earth was going to swallow me up. I thought, no, I will still get there. I'll be fine. It'll just keep, I'm not going to give this one up.
But I got home the next morning. I went home to get changed. We were staying in a hotel that night to get changed. Oh, we weren't living together then, actually, because I was still in Darlinghurst. And I went home to get changed, and my answering machine yet again was flashing off. So many people called me. And it was Martin's mother and his sister independently ringing and saying, we're so excited. You're going to be my daughter-in-law. And his sister saying, oh, Heather, you're going to be the best sister. And I thought,
Welcome
oh,
to the family.
I better do it. I don't want
Yeah,
to
I don't
disappoint
wanna-
the family.
Don't want to disappoint Mrs. McGrath.
but it didn't happen for a while though.
No, it was about 4 more months.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh, all right.
Oh, well, come on. Let's do it.
Well, not that I didn't want to be with you. I was definitely going to be with you. I just didn't understand what marriage meant to me.
Yeah, and there was never a doubt that we would.
Yeah,
be
right. So it
together.
wasn't about I
think
don't
that
love
was-
you
that-
enough.
that-
No.
Yeah.
It was just,
It's just one of those things. But also, I don't think your head was really ever entertained.
but darling,
the
I'm an
notion
actress and I
of-
was thinking about the play I was in.
Yes.
We were about to open. I thought, what terrible timing.
Well, okay, so that timing sucks, but that's also
I was thinking
part
about
of
what I was going to wear on opening night.
right. And that's
And here we come to the core of it.
a little more about me, please.
I feel your pain, Martin.
In the world of entertainment and acting, I mean, Martin, you're on one side of the camera, Heather, you're obviously on the other side, and it's difficult to know what our schedules are. And when like Ali at least doesn't work in the business, so we've only got one messed up schedule with mine, but with you two, you're both needed all over the place at different times.
Which wasn't the perfect arrangement for bringing up kids.
Yeah, right. So how do
However, it's much better now.
Yeah,
it was good for you.
Well, the kids are
That's what I
grown.
remember.
Your boys are grown now. Are they still at home, or are they? Oh, they are.
They're very much at home.
Yeah, right
I
on.
can't see them going anywhere. They're very much at
love
home, and they don't seem scarred. They seem pretty happy, and they seem happy with us.
They're smarter
By the
than
fact
us.
that there was often one of us not around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually. Martin.
Has that kept the marriage fresh, though, because there's been so much time apart and together and apart together?
Yeah, and particularly now, I mean, we would spend at least 6 months of every year apart.
Wow.
And sometimes, like last year, it was even more. But we speak at least once, maybe twice a day and at length. And we're constantly texting and keeping an eye on, just keeping in touch.
I think it's fantastic. I actually think it's wonderful. Like, I really do. I think it's great because we're never out of contact.
Yeah.
And I think it gives us so much to talk about. And when we are together afterwards, I think when we were younger, if someone went away, you sort of thought you were missing out on part of the experience of sharing that.
Yeah.
But I certainly feel now that I don't feel I'm missing out on anything when you're doing at some extraordinary location or doing something with other people, and they're people that I'd like to be with too. I don't feel, I wish I was there. But I think that's also if you're satisfied and happy with what you're doing. I think it's very different in a relationship when one person doesn't feel fulfilled or, feeling that they're doing things that they love doing. But I think we're both very fortunate that we've both found things apart from even the industry, outside of the industry, even that we love doing. So I think it's been a really valuable and enriching thing in our relationship, actually. It's been really positive.
Since Broken Hill, have you worked together much more?
14
No, I
separate.
said absolutely not.
14, maybe 16. Oh, yeah. At least.
Really?
Yeah, different projects. Yeah.
14, 15 different projects.
Yeah, so by that I mean somewhere Heather's been the lead cast, and sometimes she's just been on for a day. But
Yeah, right.
I think it's 16.
We love working together.
Yeah.
Really enjoy it.
What are you guys most grateful for? You've been married 30 plus years. What are you most grateful for about the marriage?
I think one of the things I'm most about in terms of Martin is, a number of things, a lot of things, but I think his complete acceptance of me. I feel so completely accepted by Martin. I feel Martin I feel no judgment ever about anything, even from domestics through to ideas I might have or things I feel no judgment. And I also feel complete allowance for whatever it is I want to do. Not that I think he should have an opinion about what I want to do necessarily, but we don't ask, I don't think we do. We don't ask permission of each other. If we want to do something, we tend to just say yes to it and do it and then tell each other, this is what I'm going to do. And I've never felt, then of course, we'll work it out. There's always the assumption we'll work everything out. I think that's the thing. I think we both go, everything will work out because we're both going to allow each other to do what is right, and we'll assume that we're both making decisions that are right for ourselves and right for all of us. So I think what I'm most grateful for is that lack of judgment, complete lack of judgment.
Beautiful.
Really.
What about you, Martin?
I'm tearing up. For me, yes, there's an acceptance and that we love our work on a really very high level within how we prioritize things, and in a sense, pouring yourself into your work and putting it as almost the priority is not has worked out. It doesn't make total logical sense, but it works for us because we are at our happiest when we are working, and when we're at our happiest, we are at our most accepting and forgiving and loving. It works and works and works and has continued to. But for me, on a daily basis, Heather is the most even-tempered, wise, beautiful, easy person to live with. And I've got to the level now, even when she's telling me off for not doing some particular thing, I think it's the most exciting and lovely thing.
He finds it funny.
Oh, you're so cute when you do that.
That's
So, but
Finds
she
me
is,
amusing when I'm cross.
but it's so
You
rare.
say I'm even-tempered. I'm much less even-tempered than you are, though. I think you're extremely even-tempered, and you're like a plateau, like you're like a still water. I'm much more turbulent,
Yeah,
I would say.
I worked on a film where the locations guy said to me, who was an Irishman who hadn't worked on many films in Australia, he turned to me at the wrap party and said, I used to teach in Northern Ireland hostage negotiators, and the way you speak to your director is like we train classically how we train hostage negotiators.
So am I your hostage?
Negotiators. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, your voice is just like, it's friendly, it's mainly monotone, and you never, it's like you're talking to someone who's holding a gun. You don't want to excite them. You don't want to scare them. It's really?
Maybe that's how you calm me down.
I don't know whether it's a good thing, but
I think it's a good thing.
yeah, but on a film set, it's a great thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Just to get things done, you just got to be even-tempered.
As Cam said, you've been together for a long time, and as we have as well, and in most marriages that are long-term, we face challenges. What are some of the significant ones that you've both faced, and how did you work through them or overcome them?
I think there's the small daily challenges, obviously, in relationships. I think every day there are challenges to do with even timing, to do with where you've got to be, how you're going to get there. Like everyone faces all those things all the time.
But we've had some big
I think
ones.
there's been the periods, they've always been in fairly concentrated periods, it seems, where I think that happens often in people's lives, that there'll be an incident, an event that happens, and then very soon after another one, and they seem to come in couplings or in quadruples, or, it just
threes.
seems like threes. There'll be a death in a family at the same time there's a birth, the same time there's someone's gone missing, something else, you've lost your house, you've not, it just seems like that tends to happen. And we certainly have had those periods. I mean, I think one of the most certainly challenging for me was having two small children, sort of aged 2 and 4, having just moved house, having probably overextended ourselves financially, having bought a house, and then finding out one of the children had autism spectrum, and then me getting breast cancer, and that it was grade 3, so it had to be extensive, treatment. And then losing the house, and then it all happened within a period of, am I exaggerating, 2 years?
Yeah, 2 or 3 years,
My father dying at that time, and it just seemed like a very intense 2 years. And at the time it certainly didn't feel easy, and it felt like juggling things constantly.
Yeah.
But we relied a lot on wonderful friends and relied on, I think, I was very aware that often, I think if you're the focus, if you're the person going through, firstly, I went through the birth of the children. I was the one who mainly guided through getting the diagnosis for Seamus. I was the one who was much more, I think, proactive in a lot of those things. But that's also me wanting to have more control. That's to do with me wanting to feel in control. And I think in a relationship like this, my recollection of it anyway is that Martin was trying to support me in all these things, and therefore carrying a lot of the burden himself because he didn't feel that he could be as active as I was, because I was the one who was doing the treatments. I was the one who was very active. He wasn't as active, and so therefore you developed shingles. So the stress. So often it's
Major
the
stress
carer,
response.
the
Yeah.
person who's the partner or the primary carer is often the person carrying much more of the stress. I think, because they're not in as an active role. If that makes sense. Whereas I could act things out, I could follow through with things, and I could take action, and I could make things happen. And it was an interesting time, and I think that it was definitely, it was different. And then we got pneumonia and couldn't breathe, and it just seemed like one thing.
Holy crap.
Funerals, and you were away for all of that.
Were you working during that time too?
We were trying to work.
Neither
Because you had to make money, I guess.
Well,
No, we didn't make any money for
but
2
see,
years.
for 2 years we had virtually no income because freelancers. The weird thing about freelancing is that Heather falls sick with cancer, and somehow I'm unemployable as well because everyone just steps away from you, and it was almost like, oh, cancer's
He'll be busy.
Wow.
He'll be doing.
You'll be busy.
Yes.
We'll leave him alone.
Right.
Yeah.
I think out of compassion, often.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also.
But then it also, when things go on longer than a few months, then it becomes normal.
Yeah.
It normalizes, and so everyone starts to think. I think it's just human nature. It's normal for us to sort of go, oh, that's the new state of being. So people then accept that you're not able to work, and so they move on to other people, and that's the nature of it. And we're in an industry, all of us, where if you don't turn up, it's not happening. So if you couldn't turn up, then you weren't working. So.
But also, I think at the time there was a transition period between an era where getting a cancer diagnosis was a death sentence, and what we live in now, which is that we know how to actively react and do and treat, and that many cancers are now in a we're going through a development stage where people can survive, and Heather did survive, yes, and get breast cancer again, but there was a time when you could tell in people's eyes, when you said, oh, Heather's got breast cancer, oh, well, she's dead, and that's the way it is. And you just better come to grips with that idea. And that even talking positively about, a positive outcome seemed to be, well, he's kidding himself, and so you're forever fighting against that as well. So, and also knowing that if you were to survive, it was going to be a massive struggle. Well, second time round with breast cancer, Heather was just like, nah, we're just going to do this head on and get it done as quickly as possible so I can get back to work. Yeah. And that was her priority. Not, I'm going to take it easy from now on. It's nah, just work.
But I also took the view the first time when I had breast cancer, I told everybody the first time. Yeah. Because my mother died of a 7-year illness when I was 17 and hadn't told anybody. So I took the opposite approach. I'll tell everybody, which is probably not the best thing. So this time I only told people that needed to know, and I think that was a little wiser.
So on the, when you're going through that 2-year period, and there must have been moments for both of you where it did feel oppressive. And maybe even like today's just a hard day to get out of bed. What do you do? Do you break it down into small, doable chunks and just work your way up, or was there any kind of conscious thought around that, or you can't look further ahead than today's appointment with the doctor, or?
Oh, I think what Martin was about to say is, because you've got little kids, every day feels normal. Every day you've got your kids, so you're getting up and you're trying, you do your breakfast up. It was really when I got complications, I developed giardia on top of it in the middle of treatment, and there was only that very short period of time, a matter of weeks, when I thought, I'm not going to make it, and this is it, because I got so sick and was so thin, and that was scary.
You were sick.
But apart from that, every day was just like, I think, oh, here's today. Just go through today.
Right.
I never felt, I was certain I was going to be all right, apart from those few weeks.
There you go.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I was always certain I'd be all right.
Were you always certain, Martin?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
The couple of photos that we stumbled upon recently where you looked like E.T., where you were bald and your sort of fingers were very like, you were so skeletal. It's ridiculous. And that around that period, which is probably when you had the Giardia, it was horrible.
Yeah.
It was terrible. And also we had a decent mortgage. We had toddlers. We were still...
The worst thing was seeing the kids look at you. That was the worst thing, was Finn, the older one. I think it's still very much in him,
Yeah.
that memory, whereas Seamus, I don't think it really occurred to him, the gravity of it. But Finn, I think, was really frightened. Yeah. You can just,
How old was Finn at the
4 and 5 years old.
Oh,
4, 5
yeah.
towards 6.
Yeah,
and he
yeah.
was just
Yeah.
aware.
And he would be, kids are so smart too, he'd be aware of other people's reactions to you as well, so that he would have picked up on that. Yeah.
Kids are much smarter than even at that age than we imagine. He remembers everything.
Amazing. Is there a lesson about love that your relationship has taught has taught you?
A lesson. It's taught us. What do you think?
Choose wisely.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the one thing I'd like to say...
Learn how to say sorry.
What I'd like to say to my kids, though, which I haven't and won't probably, but, don't... If you fall in love with someone, don't feel you have to... choose wisely is kind of what... I mean, I agree with that, even though it's said in jest in a way. Don't feel you have to reciprocate unless you genuinely really feel it's right. I mean, you can reciprocate in friendship and all sorts of ways, but I think it's knowing why you're in love with someone as well. And I think that's why I said no to getting married. There was more reasons than that, but I wanted to understand if I felt committed anyway to being with Martin, but I wanted to understand why I wanted to spend my whole life, however long that life was, with him. And so, I mean, I'm always amazed that there's not more... talking and not counselling maybe, but how to have relationships before people get into relationships rather than afterwards.
Yeah.
But a lesson, I don't know, I suppose just listen.
Yeah,
Listening.
There's something though about that goes with treating people with respect that doesn't get talked about enough, and I get that now of the last couple of years. And it's to do with creative relationships as much as it is to do with personal relationships. And I think truly treating someone with respect, listening to them right to the end of the sentence and trying to understand what they're actually saying is not something I don't think I did until probably the last number of years. And I think for me the lesson in love is... Yeah, you're actually with a completely separate person, and I think being a child of the 70s, somehow I imagine in my brain that two people who love each other that much and they get married, that they become the same person, that they must agree on everything, and that doesn't give you enough scope to understand what it takes to know another person. You have to know them and agree to disagree, or to say, okay, you've got a separate idea, then I've got a separate. But I respect that totally, and I find that with my work, I'm, feel like I've got to listen to a director, and they've got a completely different idea than me, but I've got to make their idea work, and that exercise is not something that people get a lot of work at, don't get to work at, but I think that sits at the core of why it works.
Great.
I love that. Yeah. And it's the same with parenting too, like having the expectation that your kids they come out a certain way and they're just, so that's who they are and I'll tell you who you are, son, but they you can't. I mean, because they're all so different. I know growing up in our family, we were 5 kids, we're all very, very, very different. And there might have been through my mum at some point went, no, you're going to wear that colour, you're going to wear that colour, because that's the way she was able to, she was the mother duck, and we're all the ducklings, you have to fall in line to keep us safe, But with our kids, very different kids, and very different perspectives. And I think that's a great point, that especially that listening to the end of the sentence. How many times you cut people off? How many times I cut you off?
Oh, it's one of the hardest things to do, and you're much better at it than I am. I find it hard sometimes just to sit and listen. I listen better if I'm doing something else. not doing the eye to eye thing.
Yeah.
So I'll say, that's great, Martin, just follow me. And I'll get him to come with me while I'm doing something. And then I can hear what he's saying and I won't interrupt. But I'm sitting opposite, eyeballing him talking. I can get really impatient and going, yep, good, yep, heard that before. And whereas you're so much better at it.
Yeah, but you get I suppose kidnapped a little bit by other people's wants and needs, and I am almost interrogating you to find out if that thing that you're saying you're going to do is something you really want to do, or is it just fulfilling an obligation? And so I find myself, do you really want to go to the Maldives with that guy? And you've just busted your head open.
I remember the day that that happened. I went, I'm going to the Maldives. I didn't even know.
Mate, Heather's turned up, and she's first day, and she's showing me this. She goes, I fell over, I knocked my head. I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, look at this, and she pulls this thatch of hair that's all stuck together because your head was glued together.
And I remember at the hospital they started to shave it. I said, no, please don't shave it. I'm going to the Maldives. I said, I beg your pardon. I said, oh no, doctor, you mustn't shave it.
I'm on a film shoot. Come on.
I'm going with Daddo.
Who? But when I asked you what to, I texted you, how's your head as you're about to get on the plane, you just sent me a photo of a glass of champagne.
And that's how my head
There
was.
you go.
Nice.
Doing all right. We do a thing called the 2-minute shower.
Oh, okay.
You ready to get in? Mm-hmm. All right. We want you to both answer the question.
Okay.
Okay, so you both answer the question. And obviously we're into water conservation, so keep your answers short.
Of course.
All right, here we go. What habit does your partner have that you find adorable?
He massages my back every night before I fall to sleep, the small of my back.
I love that Heather loves that I massage her.
I'm adorable, come on.
Yeah, something adorable about her. Okay.
I can't believe
I love that when I'm speaking to Heather on the phone from overseas, interstate or whatever, it's always positive. Always, no matter how bad it really is.
Perfect. If you could relive one day with each other, what would it be?
One day. Look, it would have to be, can I be a little more general? It's sitting on a bench down by the water. It's not a whole day, it's just an experience. Yeah. I love sitting on this particular bench with Martin with our coffee by the water. That's my place. Yep.
I'd go back to Paris 1990 and I'd be at the Musée d'Orsay and stopping to have croissants and going to La Palette and having a coffee with you.
Great.
Coffee.
We're having the coffee.
We love our coffee. What do you miss when you're not together 6 months a year?
Someone to do the cooking. No.
That's true.
I do miss that. Oh, no, I miss... I don't sleep as well when Martin's not there.
Yeah.
I miss my sleep. I miss my sleeping companion.
Oh, that's cute. What do I miss? I very much miss sitting on a bench with Heather doing Wordle and having a coffee. There you go.
We have a simple life.
Yeah.
Lucky we have good coffee in this country, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, we love our coffee.
Yeah.
All right, last question. One word to describe each other.
Sounds boring, but patient.
Effervescent.
Ooh, fizzy.
Fizzy.
Nice.
Bubbles. Back to the
Fizzy and
champagne. Heather and Martin, thanks so much for coming in
Oh, thank you.
and
Great
sharing
pleasure.
this. It's been
Thank you,
great.
darling.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Lots of fun. Thank you so much again.
Oh, when can we see you on stage again?
RBG opens at the Sydney Theatre Company at the Drama Theatre. I think it's around the 8th of February for 6 weeks, and then goes to Canberra, Melbourne, Brisbane, Perth, and a couple other places too.
Okay.
And of course, there's Heather's book, Everything and Nothing, that's out as well, which
Yeah.
is apparently is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Probably heard it all now.
So, yeah. So you can grab
No,
that.
you're an amazing writer.
And Martin, you've just finished working on...
The 12 Series 2,
Yes.
and I'm about to start on 10 Pound Poms Series 2.
Oh,
And then-
fantastic.
And then Bay of Fires Series 2.
Bay of Fires, right on. Busy.
You got to work.
Never stop.
I love it. I love it.
All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I felt like I was in the presence of like two wise Jedis or something, those two. They have so much, of course they've been together that long. Of course they have a lot of relationship sort of heart-centered advice in a way. I loved listening to them. I could have listened to them talk very easily all day.
I thought you were going to say you were in the presence of sort of like royalty,
Oh, well, yeah.
because that's this to me, their nobility
Yes.
comes
yeah.
through.
Yeah, very
like
much.
Heather's a very noble.
Very much.
woman, you
yeah.
know.
And he's so peaceful.
Yeah.
Like when he talked about
Yeah,
his time on set and, being the peacekeeper, you could totally get that from being around him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
great people. I'm so glad you got to meet Heather, and I
Yes.
obviously never met Martin before
Yeah.
either. So just to have them both in here and
Yeah,
was
real
really
honour.
good.
Real honour.
Hope you, listener, enjoyed Heather and Martin. It was great. It was great for us.
Indeed.
It was as good for you as it was for us.
All right. Thanks so much for listening.
Catch up with you next time.
Bye.